it's Jon Smith, and I've lived in Utah my entire life, and I've noticed that there's a whole lot of cool stuff around that not a lot of people know about or know everything about. So today for cool stuff in Utah, we are at the Salt Lake City Cemetery. The cool thing about the Salt Lake City Cemetery is that it's actually the largest municipally owned cemetery in the entire United States of America. Started by Brigham Young when the state was first, settled. It was like 20 acres. It's over 500 times that size now. It's crazy. And you've got everything from like past governors of the country, you've prominent figures from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You've also got local politicians. You've even got some famous folk heroes like Porter Rockwell. We'll find his grave here in a minute. Of course, there's a lot of urban legends at the Salt Lake City Cemetery as well, right? Most famous of which would be Emo's grave. Emo is actually a guy by the name of Jacob Moritz. Came here from Bavaria sometime around 1871. Actually was the founder of the Salt Lake Brewing Company. You'd think that's what he'd be famous for, not some weird urban legend about a ghost looking at you through the through the rusty sheet metal on the door. Back in the day, I remember when I was in high school, in fact, even when my parents were in high school, they would come up to Emo's grave. And the legend was you would walk around on the path, you'd walk around it 3 times, and you'd say Emo 3 times. I'm not gonna do it because, ooh. You'd walk around, you'd say Emo 3 times, and then you would come to the front, you would turn and you'd look, and through a opening in the door, you'd see a pair of red eyes looking at you. Yeah! Up until recently, I think back in like 2007 is when they actually covered up the opening in the door. Behind this, there was an urn that back in the day, people would say these were Emo's ashes that were shattered, and that's why his spirit was so restless. That's not what it was at all. It was actually a flower vase that they would put his flowers in there. And somewhere along the line, somebody broke it, and people would throw ashes in there and stuff like that to make it look all creepy. But no, it was nothing but a flower vase. One of the more interesting things about Emo's grave is that it's actually not a grave at all. In fact, his widow ended up moving his remains to California a long, long time ago, and people kind of lost track. Emo's grave is really just a big old chunk of, land in the Salt Lake City Cemetery that's kind of a memorial to Jacob Moritz. Nonetheless, people still visit Emo's grave by the thousands every year, still walking around doing the urban legend. So right now we're walking to the grave site of Lily E. Gray. Lily E. Gray is a bit of a mystery. There's a whole lot of urban legends around that one as well. Lily E. Gray, the headstone is marked Victim of the Beast 666, which depending on your source means she lost her mind, or her husband, who was a little bit off his rocker as well, marked that on her death certificate. Some people also speculate that it could be a victim of drug abuse or alcohol abuse, and that her family thought that was of the beast. But there's no real clear-cut history on who or what is up with Lily E. Gray. So we're trying to be quiet because even though it is a very historic and very old cemetery, there's actually still open spaces and there's people that are still buried here. In fact, there's 2 funerals going on today while we're doing this segment. So we're trying to be quiet and respectful. In fact, you see right over my shoulder here, they're preparing a burial site for somebody that is going to be interred today. I'd ask somebody for directions, but they're all dead. This is the grave of Porter Rockwell. Porter Rockwell is a true American folk hero. He was called the Mormon Angel of Death. How cool a name is that? Porter Rockwell was Joseph Smith's personal bodyguard. Joseph Smith told him that if he never cut his hair, he couldn't be hurt or killed. I tried using that same excuse when I had long hair in junior high, and my parents didn't buy it. Dude, cut it out. Quit filming my name. It's freaking me out. Stop it. The amazing amount of history that can be in one place. There's 9.5 miles of road that traverses through the cemetery. There's veterans here from every American war following the Civil War. So from the 1860s forward, you've got veterans from every single American war buried in this one area of land, including a whole section of veterans of the Spanish-American War. So there you go. That's just some of the history of the Salt Lake City Cemetery. Okay, maybe we can come back and do a follow-up visit. So as always, if you like what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment, and we'll see you next time.